going to jail was kind of like the good thing, right? And then we talk about,
Right.
My best friend, I had to watch him get shot, right? And see him take his last breaths.
What went through your mind, and did it change the trajectory, or did you think, oh, this is just part of who I am and what I do?
It really didn't change the trajectory. Like it was kind of natural. It was kind of that environment. It was like kill or be killed. It happened so often that it just became natural. We grew up in that environment where it was like, no disrespect. I gotta be tough. I gotta be hard. I can't let anybody get over on me. I can't let anybody disrespect me.
Guys, so excited to share with you Mr. Daeron Myers. Daeron has an incredible story, a background where he grew up in the hood, was stabbed, a drug dealer, raised by a druggie. I mean, dude, the guy has the craziest background in which he was able to go and shift it into going and building a multiple six-figure business that he has gone, and he continues to teach people just like you how to get out of the rat race, how to really start that first initial hustle. And it's something that you already have available to you. You already have the technology. You already have the resources. Daeron is the man when it comes to diving into this stuff. I'm super excited to share with you this episode.
When I got stabbed and I had to spend 5 days in the hospital, and that was the first time, because my life was fast. It was sell drugs all day, party all night type thing, right? We clubbing. So I never sat down and actually talked to myself. I did say, my heart stopped on the table and they had to bring me back. I'm just happy to still be here. And that was a turning point. I was like, you know what? I got to do something different. I'm scaring my family. I'm not living up to my potential. And I was always one of those people that people looked up to. They were like, bro, you're smart. You're smart. And I didn't realize it. And then I just had to apply it to something else.
Yo, welcome to another episode of the Founder Podcast. Today, I'm super excited. I am joined by Mr. Daeron Myers. He's coming in from the East Coast. We're super excited to have you on the show. Mr. Daeron, welcome to the show.
Man, Chris, I greatly appreciate it, man. Happy to be here.
Yeah, dude, excited to have you. So give us a little. I've read your bio, know a little bit about you. I know you've hustled in the courier business, and you have a really cool story. Super excited to dig into that. But give us the 30-second, 45-second elevator pitch of what makes Daeron just absolutely gangbusters.
Man, I appreciate it. So kind of the thing, I guess what people look at me as, I'm the guy who helps people take their vehicle, make more and work less by starting a delivery business. So I guess that's what I've been labeled as, and that's who I am, right? So I'll let the people just give me that title.
I love it. I think the thing I appreciate most about what you do, it's the hustle, right? Like, figuring out, like teaching people how to get out of the grind, turn to the hustle, use their brain a little bit, right? Like, but do it in a way that doesn't require a whole lot of resources or something that, somebody already has in place. They're just figuring out, a way to really shift from that employee mindset over to the entrepreneur. So right. I think, diving into your story and a little bit about what you do will be highly beneficial for those that are listening today, just because I think everybody is looking for a way to make an extra buck, especially in 2024 when inflation is killing us, right? We've got, a lot of wages aren't keeping up with the cost of living, the cost of housing soaring through the sky, and people are just figuring out, like, man, how do I make it day to day? And so super excited to talk a little bit about your journey and what you did to make that shift. And so if I remember right, you come from a little bit of a troubled past, is that right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, man. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so that diamond in the rough story, I mean, for me, it was my everyday. For some people, it might be traumatic, right? Just growing up in a place called Baltimore, Maryland. Not the good part, right? So,
were you in the row home area type?
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
I've knocked doors in the not good type of Baltimore. So I sold home security out there, man. I know exactly what you're talking about, man. It's a little scary. little scary.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're a tourist, I wouldn't go to this location. But growing up incarcerated, dad, my mom was on drugs. I was, trying to raise by my grandmother. She was older, too old to keep up with us. So, we kind of went outside and started making our own trouble and started making our own money selling drugs or robbing people.
What age did you start that?
11. Yeah. So, my brother
11, dude.
influenced me.
Kinda-
He was 2 years older. So I was 11. He was 13. And we said, you know what? I'm tired of my grandmother lights getting cut off. So we got to figure out a way to make money.
So was this just kind of on your own? Were you part of a gang? Like how did that
Um,
go by?
we wasn't part of a gang. It's kind of like generational trauma when I look back at it, right? My grandfather sold drugs. My dad sold drugs. My older brothers, my uncle. So it was kind of,
It was the
the
family
only thing
business.
we was exposed to. It was the only thing we
Right.
knew, right?
Right.
So for
And
me, it
yeah,
was like, hey, if these guys are making money, it's got to be okay. I didn't know
so,
anything else.
so I'd imagine, you grew up in that light, like there's got to be a few people that that are serving time and doing those type of things, right? Like how many
Oh yeah.
how many people close to you were behind bars for doing the same exact thing?
Oh man, like at one point, I mean, everybody's out now. I mean, my oldest brother, 11 and a half years of prison.
Oh,
My godfather, which is basically my older cousin, 7.5 years of prison. My cousin Joe, we used to go, hang out every single day. He just caught
man.
7 years. My little cousin, he caught 25 years. So
Oh my
it,
goodness.
it's a lot of people that that was directly, not only going to jail was kind of like the good thing, right? And then we talk about,
Right.
my best friend. I had to watch him get shot, right, and
Mm.
see him take his last breaths. My,
Ugh.
my little cousin, I watched him on the ground for 6 hours straight after he had no life in him, just being stabbed up. So,
So, dude, tell me, and I'm gonna dig a little deeper here. Like, tell me about those experiences and like what went through your mind, and like, did it change the trajectory, or did you think, oh, this is just part of who I am and what I do?
it really didn't change the trajectory. Like even me when when I got stabbed up and was rushed to shock trauma and died on the table, they had to bring me back at 24.
Uh,
Um, it really it was kind of natural. It was kind of that environment. It was like kill or be killed. People. It happened so often that it just became natural. Like it's another one. Dang, they got my boy today. It just became natural in that light. So it really didn't change anything.
and
I
and were
always
were
knew.
these
Go ahead,
killings
Chris.
like happening over like turf wars, or like why were people getting stabbed, or what was leading to that kind of action?
Man, it was it'd be the dumbest. I've seen the dumbest things. I mean, my little cousin is, rest in peace. Him, he's gone because of argument over a song.
Uh,
Like what song was better, and then it just escalated from there. You know,
oh my
um,
god.
typically neighborhood beef would be over females. It's just when I look back at it, it was just so stupid and it was like it was the smallest things that would lead to the traumatic outcomes.
And why
So
do you think about like that culture of the way that what you were involved in? Like what led to like people being able to escalate so quickly, like over a song like that seems right to now looking back on it. I'm sure it seems crazy to you, right? Like what do you think? Was it just because it was just such would like to always turn to violence, or what do you think that really led that?
yeah, it's one of those things that's just we grew up in that environment where it was like no disrespect. Um,
Yeah.
I gotta be tough. I gotta be hard. I can't let anybody get over on me. I can't let anybody disrespect me. And, and,
So it was
and
more
people don't
about
understand.
like authority
Yeah,
and ego.
yeah. Basically, that's all it is: authority and ego.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy how ego drives so much, right? Like
Yep.
in this, whether we're talking about relationships or business or
Yeah,
an argue, there ego, when it's not maintained or kept within bounds, right? Like can escalate over pretty much anything. It's just
absolutely.
it's frankly fascinating that you can get to that point when you get comfortable around it, and then opposite, right, when you start putting away the ego and really like you see how crazy it is with
Yeah, yeah,
looking back or whatever it is.
yeah, it is.
Crazy, man. So, I mean, obviously that was so how many years of your life did you spend in this type of an environment?
Um, till I mean, probably till I was 19. So
Uh,
you talking about, yeah, to 19, moving to different
so
locations,
so
DC, New York. It never
right.
changed.
And so at this time you said your mom's on drugs and you're being raised by, you said, your grandparents?
My grandmother and my aunt. Yep.
Okay. And so like what's going through their mind? Are they also on drugs? Or are they trying to parent you in a right way and like pull you out of these situations? Like what, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so mostly I stayed with my aunt. She was on drugs. Yeah, she had a crack
Right.
addiction, but she was rich in love. That was one of the things that she did. It didn't matter what, her drug of choice was or the things she endeavored, she always showed love.
Right.
Um, we lived in Section 8 houses. We got kicked out. We lost homes and all that. But no, we lived in a shelter a couple times. But at that time, like,
No.
she was always loving on me, caring for me, make sure I had the things that we needed. We didn't have food. She was like, "Hey, take your backpack. We going to the grocery store and fill your backpack up." And we walking up. Like, she always
So
made
you're
sure I had the
you're
things that
out
I
you're
needed.
out stealing food to
Yeah,
put it on the table.
yeah.
Were there not like food stamps available or any type of program to make sure that you were
Yeah,
fed
I mean,
or?
yeah, we were on food stamps, but if you know anybody on drugs, they sell those food stamps for money. So
Mhm.
in our neighborhood, it was a dollar, it was 50 cents on the dollar, right? So
Yeah. That was the going rate.
yeah,
Oh.
yeah, yeah,
And so sell your food stamps and then steal the food. That
yeah,
was kind of
yeah.
the way the way
Absolutely.
of the wolf, huh? Dude, that's crazy. That's crazy. I've heard some things like that. Fortunately, we grew up with not a lot of money, but I was never at the point where we were living in Section 8 or, my dad was a school teacher. My mom was a stay-at-home mom with 7 kids. Right. And so
Okay.
we always had enough, but it wasn't, you know, uh, to the extreme where, yeah. And so, it's interesting. So your aunt was on drugs. Like, were you supplying her drugs, or where was she getting her drugs?
Yeah. So after yeah, so once I started selling drugs, at first we didn't, and then we start, my uncle came to us. He said, "Listen, your aunts, they gonna smoke regardless. They gonna do drugs regardless. So you should probably sell to them. Make sure they get the good stuff, right? I don't know if you ever heard about anything called fentanyl or anything,
Yeah,
but a lot of people
scary.
OD'd and or got some bad stuff, and they never came back, or
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
it.
unfortunately, I have two friends that I grew up with that both OD'd on fentanyl, right?
Oh
Because
wow,
to your point, right? Like, from what I understand, I've never really been in that environment, but my understanding is like it could appear to be the same amount, but
yep,
one's lethal and one's fine.
yep, exactly.
That's
You got
that's
it hit
That,
on the head.
dude, that's crazy. So your uncle's like, hey, let's make sure that if they're gonna do drugs, let's make sure they're doing it clean. Let's make sure they're not gonna get hit with some OD on fentanyl or whatever it is. So
Yep.
you're supplying. So help me understand, like, where are these drugs coming from? Like, who's your dealer and who's their dealer? Like, well, like, how does that whole like supply chain work?
Uh, yeah, so it was a whole family thing. Like, we had, one of my cousins, he was a kingpin, so he had all the supplies, anything you needed. One of my uncles, he was the same way. So anything you needed, we would just go to them. Um,
So
and they would put it,
where are
they,
they
they,
where are
they
they
put it
get
in the
where are
package.
they getting that from? Are they putting their life at risk by getting this stuff, or just
I
potentially going
don't
to
know.
prison?
I don't know where they was getting it from back then. I was kind of like too young to see where the pipeline was coming from. But long as they had it, I was good, and I
Yeah,
can get my
yeah.
work. Is what we call it.
Wow, wow. So, like, tell me a little bit about the financial aspect. Obviously, we're not promoting being a drug dealer here, but
Nah, not at
like,
all.
what kind of money are you making as an 11-year-old, crack dealer versus maybe as a 15-year-old, as an 8 and 19-year-old? How did that progression happen?
Oh yeah, so at a young age, it was kind of like just eight balls and small things. So it made me make $200 a day. At 11 years old, but that was a lot. As we
Dude,
started
that's a
getting
lot of
older,
money. That's a lot of money.
yeah, yeah. As we started getting older and started driving and expanding, um, going out to like the countryside where people spent more money instead of the dimes and nickels in the city, or we started making more. I mean, 19, it was easy to make 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 a day. And as
So
I got
are
older
you
and I
telling
got
me that you're
connections,
like you're supplying to like the white collar housewife, or like who's
yeah, that's
consuming these
that's what I
things
eventually got.
outside?
Yeah, that's what I eventually my clientele kind of as I got older, I started catering to those type of people, the doctors, the lawyers, and said, you know what, I'm gonna put down selling, and excuse if I'm very vulgar, I'm gonna put down selling crack. I'm gonna just start selling coke because these doctors, they spend 500-600 at a time. These lawyers, they spend
Wow.
it, So, as I got older,
Wow.
I definitely started to make more. I'll tell you that.
Are you a home service business owner struggling to get your time back? Maybe you're feeling like you have to do everything yourself, or maybe you aren't able to break through that certain revenue plateau. You feel like owning your business isn't quite what you thought it would be. Am I right? I understand you more than you know. I've launched many businesses throughout my life, and I was lucky enough to have built multiple businesses that scaled to 2 9-figure exits. But more importantly, I have had even more businesses fail. Why would that be more important? I learned a ton from each venture that I was a part of, each teaching me lessons about how to hire the right people, how to price my product, how to build out proper SOPs, and even building the right culture. These lessons are what led me to being able to sell my most recent business for nearly $200 million. Why am I sharing all this with you? Because I've been in your shoes, feeling the same exact feelings that you are. And if I knew back then what I know now, life might have been a lot easier for me. Unfortunately, I can't travel back in time, but I can help you so that you don't have to. How? I package everything that I learned into over 150 videos all about my wins and mistakes that I've made in business over the years. And I want to give you access to these videos. But it's so much more than just a bunch of videos. I've created a community of home professionals just like you where people interact and share ideas with each other. Plus, we host live calls every single week where you get direct access to people like myself and my business partners that were a part of these different ventures who are experts in marketing, operations, software, and even more. All you have to do is book a free call with one of our team members to see if this would be a good fit for you. That way, I can help you take your business to the next level, making you a next level home pro.
Dude, walk me through. I'm just more like curious than anything. Like, walk me through a scenario. You're going to meet with a white collar doctor, right? Like, obviously, he doesn't want to be seen doing a drug deal. How does that deal go down?
Oh man, that's they like come to my house, man. They don't want to be seen in the public. They like, hey, bring it directly to my house. You know what I'm
So
saying?
you're
So
you're showing up in suburban, $500,000 homes. You're pulling in, and so yeah, it's interesting. So you're just delivering it to their doorstep.
yeah,
Yeah.
I was one of those very creative guys, man. So I used to, and I, it's funny to talk about it now. I used to wear like a plumbing suit and drive a plumbing van. So I was always thinking. I used to watch the movies, and I watched a lot of people make a lot of mistakes. I've seen a lot of drug dealers in my life, and I never wanted to look the image. So people thought I was crazy, but it was actually a good idea. Like if I went out town, I would have a brochure of real estate. Say we was driving up the turnpike to pick up some things, some weight. I would have a suit and tie on. Like I was one of those guys, man.
Right. Master of disguise,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
funny. It's funny that, in the real world you were applying those things because I watch movies or whatever else, like what an idiot, or you watch like even some of these crime shows that are based on real life, and like so often people just make the stupidest mistakes.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
so like when you're going to doing these things, I mean, are you scared for your life? Are you scared that one, either someone's going to shoot you and take all your money or take all your drugs, or two, are you scared that there's a sting operation? Like, walk me through that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, every single day, I was, and it became natural. It became a natural feeling, but my antennas were always up. I never slept. Right. It's been over 10 years since I sold drugs, but like I've never slept. I used to tell my wife, I'd be like, I don't know how I did it because every little noise I would jump up. Every car that would follow me, I would
Oh,
take, I'd be like, hey, they follow me. I would take loops. So I would just get on the highway and speed just to make sure, so like, of course,
or
but
did
it
that
became a
drive you
natural feeling.
crazy? Did that drive you
Huh?
crazy? I mean, like,
It became normal. It became my everyday life. It became my everyday life, to be honest with you,
dude,
Chris.
that's crazy. That's crazy. So, like, you know, this is the story of a lot of people, and they never get out, right? They
Yes. Yeah.
either end up in prison, they end up dead, or
Understand.
somehow they continue down this path, but it's never a bright future. So, like, at what point does it shift?
At one point does it shift? When I got
At what point
stabbed,
did it shift for you?
when I got stabbed and I had to spend 5 days in the hospital, and that was the first time I didn't, because my life was fast. It was sell drugs all day, party all night type thing, right? We clubbing, so I never sat down and actually talked to myself, right? So
So
those
you were
5 days
you
I
were
had to spend.
doing you were doing drugs as well. I mean, were you doing coke
Yeah,
and stuff at the?
I do a little ecstasy here, a little Molly. That was a thing when we was growing up, a little Molly.
Got it.
Smoke a little weed, but I would definitely drink a lot of liquor from the time I
Yeah, yeah,
woke
yeah.
up to the time I went to sleep. So
That's crazy. So you're stuck. So you get stabbed, and how, like, what happened? What led to the stabbing? Was it a deal gone wrong? Like, what happened there?
nah, it was kind of like a neighborhood beef thing. We was all in one party, and then a fight broke out, and next thing you
Uh,
know, I'm bleeding. My intestines are hanging out from head to toe, and I'm bleeding. Like my pants are soaking wet. So it happened fast, but it was kind of like a neighborhood beef thing. That two of us shouldn't have been in one club at the same time.
oh my goodness. So I mean, uh, are you close to death at this point? Like, or is it pretty, pretty minor stitches and stuff?
Nah,
Like, what?
it was definitely major. They did say, my heart stopped on the table and they had to bring me back.
Oh
So
my god.
I'm just happy to still be here, that's like that was a turning point. I was like, you know what, I got to do something different. I'm scaring my family. I'm not living up to my potential. And I was always one of those people that people looked up to. They like, bro, you're smart. You're smart. And I didn't realize it. And then I just had to apply it to something else.
So what really clicked though? Because, like, you'd been through similar situations, right? Like, it wasn't necessarily you getting stabbed, but I mean, cousins dying, and people, like what was different about this situation that really made you like, oh man, like I need to change my life.
I think for me, like what really happened when you start to see hundreds of people in the waiting room waiting for you, like, yo, is Daeron gonna make it through this? Is he still alive? And they waiting for you to get out of surgery, and you hearing the stories or you seeing the videos, and it was like I have to do, like, if I don't change my life, I'm going to go to jail, repeat the cycle, which I don't want to do. I just didn't know a better way,
Right.
or I'm going to, like, I was going to die. Like I remember riding in the hospital, like, dang, I'm about to die before I turn 25. Like I remember saying that to myself, like, dang, I ain't even make it to 25. So when I woke
Man.
up, I said, you know what? I'm going to try to do something positive. I didn't do it right away, but I did started to not hang out. I started to separate myself from certain people right after I got stabbed, right? So that was like the turning point for me.
So yeah, walk me through that shift, because dude, that's a completely change of lifestyle, right? Like, you
Yeah.
only have known this your whole life, right?
Yep.
You're raised by a crackhead. You were around it your whole life. You're dealing it. Everybody you know. So how, like, obviously the decision's made, but, like, walk me through what it was like getting out, because that couldn't have been an easy task.
Nah, it was one of those tough tasks, right? That happened first, and then I slowed up. I stopped hanging out, right? I stopped hanging out with the loose cannons, the people that was just throwing their life away. The people that just had no common sense, just ruthless out here. I stopped hanging on the block. I stopped drinking as much, and then that's when I got in a relationship, which is now my fiance, and we get married in August. But
It's
that
exciting.
really helped me out too, because now I got somebody else to live for. It's just not me. So now it's like, oh, I love this woman. She come from the different side of the track. She ain't about this life, right? So so she showed me, a new life, and said, Daeron, you could be doing so much more with your life. And she fed into me. And then, my cousin's house, which was my number two in the street, his house ended up getting raided. And that's when I said, I'm not selling another drug. I would rather work two jobs before I sell another drug. By that
So
time, I
I think
already had a
it's
house, I had cars, so I had things to lose. So now I'm really scared.
yeah. So I mean, all the house and cars and stuff, that's all paid for by drugs at this point.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And so your cousin gets his house raided. Like, did he get dragged off to jail at this point?
yeah. So he actually we actually got him a good lawyer, so he actually ended up beating it. So that was good. But he did, I think he spent like a week in there, and then we ended up getting him out, and then we got a good lawyer on the case, and found some mishaps in the case. So that case ended up getting dropped. So from that day forward, we was like, we can't do this no more. It's too many close calls.
Mm. And so
It's
at
too
this
many.
point, are you still living on the wrong side of the tracks, or have you moved out? Or are you kind of more suburbs, like living, or
No,
what's your
no,
lifestyle look like at this point?
I'm in the suburbs, man. I'm in the suburbs by that time. I'm working a job, still doing my stuff on the side, trying to figure it out. Working at these banks, trying to do the 9 to 5 thing is, I'm trying to do it right, but I was just like, this ain't working. Like when you used to a certain level of income or fast money, and then you try to work a job, it's very difficult.
I did. I feel that. I feel that. Never sold drugs, but I've always been in sales. And yeah, and when you're good at sales, right, money comes quick. And
Yeah.
so, when I was going to college, I would go out and I would knock doors during the summers. Actually, that's when I was able to experience Baltimore. But
Okay.
we would sell home security or whatnot. I mean, I got to a point where over a 4 month period, I would go and make between $300,000 and $400,000,
Sheesh.
and so and then I'm coming back to go to college, only to the career path is graduate, go make 60 or 70 out of college, and I'm
Yep.
just like, wait, what? Like how do, how does this whole real world thing work? Like, nah,
Yep.
man. So I can empathize with exactly where you're at, man. You're trying
Yeah.
to make this 9 to 5 work, and you're used to probably bringing in an extra 250,000 just doing hustle.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm like this.
Yeah.
I was just like, this don't even make sense.
So I would imagine, since you'd made the decision, man, I can't get back into drugs. Like, what? So I'm assuming the wheels started turning, and you're like, okay, how can I make some extra money? How can I use these same street smarts that I used for years to go and apply it in the real world? And so, like, yeah, walk us through that.
Yeah, so yep, I was working downtown Baltimore, BB&T. Um, wasn't selling drugs anymore, and then I started seeing my stash every month get shorter. Start seeing my because what I realized is, dang, yo, my bills cost more than what I make at this job. So first thing we try to do is go get a part-time job. Let me see how that works. Went to Lifetime Fitness. They was like, yeah, we'll give you 4 hours a day, $15 an hour. I'm like, $60. What the hell am I supposed to do with that? Like, $60. Hold up. Right. So I'm still searching. I'm like, yeah, I see this carrier thing, and they like, this company Expedite here in Baltimore. He was like, yeah, you can make anywhere between 1,000 to 2,000, depending on how much you work. So I said, let me try this. All you need is your own vehicle. So I said, you
Yeah.
know what? How do I do it? Called the company, said I'm interested. They started giving me deliveries, and it was instant. I said, I
So
found it.
yeah, go in a little more depth, like for the audience that maybe doesn't know what a courier service is. Like, explain a little bit, like what that looked like.
Yeah. So a courier, basically in a nutshell, so where you take your vehicle, you deliver products, packages, and items from one location to another location. So from A to B, and it's all locally. So you can do it in the car, like medical specimens, auto parts, critical parts, life science. I mean, we delivered animals, we delivered, specimens, durable medical equipment. You could deliver anything. So that's what a courier delivery business is in a nutshell.
Mm. Got it. Got it. You
Yeah.
know, it's interesting. I got a buddy of mine in Australia, and they do medical specimens, which most of it is like knee replacement type things, or yeah, sometimes they're whether it's a heart or a kidney or whatnot. But they run a service where it's delivery right to the doctor's like
Mhm.
surgery table, right?
Yep.
Like
Yep.
where it's actually needed and ready to be able to present it. And yeah, he
Yep.
built this incredible business, and they ended up selling it to private equity for a few hundred million. It was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
It's big.
there's definitely money in the delivery, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I wish I would have known him. Like, hey, if you sending stuff to the States, I'll be right at the airport to pick it up, to take it to the table.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So you get a job with as a courier service, or is this just like a contracted deal? Like what led
Yeah.
to you doing this?
Yeah. So at first I thought it was just a job, right? But it's a contract. Like, no, we're giving you a contract with us to do some on demand deliveries, right? So
Yeah.
it's all 1099 contract work. You make your own schedule. You let them know when you're available. You can negotiate some rates. A lot of
Music,
times.
that's music to people's ears, man.
Yeah.
1099, woo, to write stuff off, pay very little taxes. Come on, baby.
Yeah, yeah. At first, I didn't know anything about the taxes and all that stuff, but yeah. So my first day, shout out to my guy. He's the president, Mike Floyd. He gave me 4 deliveries, man, and they were like $40 a piece. And we was delivering surgical equipment. The customer, Striker, we was delivering the knee replacements to hospitals. So I probably did those deliveries in an hour, and I said, hold up, I worked all day. I made $28 an hour. I just did these deliveries. He paid me for every stop, and I just made more money in an hour than what I made a day.
Mm,
Why the heck am I still going to this bank every single day? Like,
mm.
right? But of course, it started to hit me, but I didn't know what it was. And then your family gets in your ear. No, you got a good job. You got to stay there. You got to trust me. You making
Security,
70,000 a
man.
year.
You got the benefits. You got
Yeah.
a career path. Come on,
Yep.
man.
Yep. 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 And yeah, we started building our relationship. I started doing more deliveries. He started begging me like, "Hey, can you leave work early? My customers, they love you." And yeah, I started doing more deliveries. I started making more money part-time than full-time. And I said, imagine if I got rid of this 8 hours and dedicated this to doing this. And it probably took me about 6 months to leave my job. I was scared because everybody was telling me don't do it. Even my fiance now, she kind of told me don't do it. But that was the one person I was scared to tell. I was like, because I just walked out. It was one of those days where I don't know if you ever had one of those days where you said, you know what, I can't keep doing this.
Yep.
I threw everything on the desk. It was probably midday. I ain't tell nobody, and I walked out. Never been back since.
Mm. So at that point, you got a full time job. How much
Yeah.
money are you making on the side doing the courier business when you decided to hang them up?
I'm 25, 3,000 a week.
Wow. Okay. So
Yeah,
we're talking between
2,500, 3,000 a week.
150 grand a year is what you're trending at that point, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
so, you pick up, you walk away. Now all of a sudden, you got an extra 8 hours a day to be able to go and dedicate to this thing.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so, what did that shift into for you?
Boy, it started going crazy. Right. It allowed me not only to, you know, work other businesses and or work on my business, but allowed me to really think and start building a relationship with our customer at that time. And I got a new customer. It was Apria Healthcare. And that's when I started to buy vans. And then I hired my cousin to drive that route. And that was when I realized, oh, snap. Not only can I get paid for everything that I do, now I can get paid without physically doing the work. Legitimately.
I love
Right?
it. I love it. You started buying your time back, man, leveraging
Yeah.
it, right?
Right.
Which is ultimately like the thing that most entrepreneurs, right, when they first get going, right, they're solopreneurs, they're kind of just they're high paid employees essentially
Correct.
when you first get in, right? Like whether it's you're trading your time for a lot of money or you're adding value for a lot of money, but then there's that next rung on the ladder when you realize, man, the rich buy other people's time, right? And the poor sell their time. And so you make this shift of like, okay, I'm going to now start. The only way I'm going to get more than 168 hours in a week is I got to go buy more time. I got to buy more time from these other individuals that are willing to work for less than I'm willing to work for, right? And so yeah, that's such an integral shift in anybody's entrepreneurial journey. And how long did it take for you to make that shift from the time that you left your job until you started leveraging other people?
It was kind of like immediately. Yeah, it was because it was in the
Good for you.
process before. It was already in the process before I left. Yeah, so
I love it. I love it.
it was immediately.
Awesome. So man, you go and you make the shift, and like, what does that end up turning into?
Man, that ends up turning into Castellano delivery. Man, that ends up turning into a lot of contracts later, a lot of leverage in other people's time and vehicles. Me growing my fleet and owning vehicles now, and me stepping up. So I started off in the car, then I stepped up to cargo van work, which, opened up a little bit more doors. And then I realized that I can start buying box trucks that don't require CDLs. So now I got 24, 26-foot box truck. That opens up a bigger door, right? So now it turned into, wow, Daeron, you got a fleet of 3 cargo vans. You got a fleet of 3 box trucks. You got these contractors that have their own vans or cars that work for you. Like now you got a full operation. Like now, it's coming in. It's coming in hand over foot, and it's coming in without me having to work hard. The same 8 hours that I was doing at the bank, but now I'm doing it, but I'm not working hard. I got all these people working for me. And now I can just grow a business. I can just work on the business. So that's essentially what it turned into.
Love it.
But at first, I was on the ground. I still hop in the truck to this day. You might see me in a suit, or you might see me in a sweatsuit. The work still has to get done. One of those people, like the people out here listening, they might think that they don't have to put in the work. Like the only thing that works is the work.
Yeah, absolutely. I have always said that you got to be willing to put in the work. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to put in the work, right? Like a lot of times you can leverage the work through different labor, people that you're buying their time or whatever may be, through employees or team members or whatnot. But you got to be willing to step in at any time, right? And you never be too good, for the work, right? It's really easy to be like, I don't want to work because I think a lot of times employees and team members, they can see through that, right? Like if you're not willing to do the work or be the one to step in at any moment, at any time, right? They're going to feel less motivated. They're going to feel less driven. They're not going to feel like you're a true leader. And that's really what I've learned in my years of building. I built a 1,100 person organization, and but everybody knew within that team that at any moment, if it required, I would step in and do anything in that business.
Yeah.
And so, man, I love that you understand that principle and you really apply that. So now you're running this business, you've made the shift where you're now teaching others to be able to go and turn their cars into profits, right? And so tell us a little bit about that program because I think that's something that the listeners are excited about, right? Maybe you got some people on here are thinking about founding their first business or making the shift from being an employee to being an entrepreneur? How do you help people bridge that gap and do the same thing that you did?
Yeah, so that's kind of one of the things that happened. I mean, it happened just people just seeing me that knew me, like, hey, Daeron, you got to teach me this. Like, you came from selling drugs to working to building this now. I ain't trying to work no job and I ain't trying to sell no job. What are you doing, right? So that this what came about. So, people just, I didn't even want to do it. I never looked at myself as a mentor, but I said, you know what? I got to help people out, right? So the first thing that I started teaching people how to do is just leverage your card, right? So that there's specific apps out here. Some of them are Courier, Dispatch It, Freight that you can get on, right? You can literally sign your car up for, and they will start sending you deliveries, right? So if you want to make some extra money, around your schedule, I would definitely start with some delivery apps. A lot of people don't know it, right? The first thing that they do when they want to make some side income is sign up to Uber
Right.
or DoorDash, or the low hanging fruit is what we call it, right? So imagine you sign up to an app, Airspace, for example. They do life science. That right, life science is very important. Like, you can pick that up from the airport and take it 10 miles down the road. I've seen deliveries as high as $500.
Wow.
Right, right. Uber and DoorDash, you're not getting that. So also, you don't have the option to say, okay, this order pays $500. Let me send my cousin and pay him $200 and keep $300.
Mm.
Right? You never seen anybody making any passive income on Uber or DoorDash.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So I tell people, like, the more options you have, the more money you can make. Right? The second level that I help people with and teach people is now get contracts with other courier companies. The more established courier companies that's been around. Now their model is to hire 1099 drivers or fleet partners, whatever they need, right? So they're looking for people with vehicles to deliver product, right? So, and you get a commission split. Do that as well, right? There's thousands of companies. I'm at a conference right now in Orlando. It's called the ECA, right? Getting business and networking with shippers and carriers to get more business for my business and for my mentees. But these are the two things that you can do in your car and make over six figures, right?
Wow.
And work with plenty, because you got to remember, like, if you working, you 1099, you doing business. Imagine if I got 10 businesses throwing me deliveries every single day. It's kind of, and I got apps giving me business. We didn't even talk about going to get your own private clients. So the people that's not good at selling their services, like, you can get in this without even actually selling it. It's already, the infrastructure is already set up for you, right? You just got to provide a service and do good service, and the better service you get, the more money you gonna make.
The thing I love about this is just like literally just straight hustle and using your brain, right? Doesn't even require an MBA, doesn't require an LLC, doesn't require how to do taxes or any of these other type of things, right? Like you can literally just take the resources that you already have, your smartphone and your car, and be able to go leverage the technology that already exists. And that's before you have to put on your business owner hat, which, if you want to graduate, it sounds like to the next level of getting like those private contracts or whatnot. But like this is available in 2024. So, if you're struggling paying your mortgage, or you're struggling making that car payment, or paying down your credit cards or whatnot, like stop scrolling TikTok. Stop scrolling YouTube. In fact, if you're watching this on YouTube, push pause, flip over, download some of these apps that my guy there is talking about right here, and go and figure out how to initially trade your time for some higher lever money. Right, like this is step number one for getting out of the rat race, and dude, I love it. I love it. So. I'm assuming you have, it sounds like you have like some mentees or whatnot. So you have a program in which you teach people how to go and do this and really become an independent boss for the first time in their life. Does that sound right?
Yeah. So I've put together a program. It's called the Courier Business Academy.
Love it.
So we have books, we have courses, we have mentorships, depending on the level of the person and what they need, we kind of serve them at what they need, if they want to get into this. So yeah, absolutely. We do have a solid program and a community of thousands of people across the nation, who have came in this program and who has, now like you can just go to my Instagram, you will see some people like I'm able to take care of my family a lot better, right? One of the
I
things
love
that
it.
I love, and to like one of the things that I preach is it's not okay to make money slow, right? Just imagine
Uh,
for the people out here who's making $20 an hour. So imagine if you did 5 deliveries in an hour that all paid 20. You talking about $100 to 20. You keep doing that hour and hour, the gap starts to get wide.
uh, yes, sir.
The gap starts to get
Yes,
real
sir.
wide.
Yes,
All right. So
sir.
make sure this is a thing where you can actually get paid for everything that you do. Right. Like a job, they're not paying me to send out this email or this call. They just like, they run, you traded your hour. Here go this other 20, $25, $30. Traded another hour. No, now I'm in control of my own destiny. What I put in is what I get out.
I love it. I love it. Daeron, I'm assuming you have some links or whatnot to your programs. So I'd love to snag them from you. We'll drop them in the show notes. So wherever you're watching this, whether it's Spotify, YouTube, or on Apple Podcasts or any of the other platforms, we'll have some links to Daeron's different programs. It sounds like a fantastic way to really start bridging the gap wherever you're at, whether you are running a business and you're struggling scaling it and you're looking for some other side way to make money, or you're an employee looking at bridging the gap, making that first plunge into entrepreneurship, into the hustle. It sounds like Daeron's got some fantastic stuff, dude. I appreciate you sharing this with the audience. It's super exciting, man.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you having me. Yep. You can always, if you want to learn more, you can visit www.courierbusinessacademy.com, and get more information about the programs and, where you can start. One of the big things, like Chris said, yeah, you can do a part-time, seasonal, full-time. It's kind of what you want to do. And you have that flexibility in this industry.
I love it. I love it. And yeah, man, I mean, this is the same stuff that like Gary Vee talks about or whatnot. Like the first step into entrepreneurship is shifting that mindset of like, I've got
Oh, yeah.
enough time. I just need to go and hustle and going and making that initial hustle. I think, what you got put together here is a fantastic way, and highly recommend because I think it's just it's a great way to add value to your time. So Daeron, dude, appreciate you being on. Where's the best social media platform to follow you at?
I guess now in this day and age, let's follow me on Instagram, right? I
All
am
right.
on TikTok, but we don't know what's gonna happen with that, right? So, both of them, both tags are the same. So Daeron, DaeronMyers 1_. You can always send me a message on Instagram, TikTok, and that's where I'm at. So, yeah.
Love it. Daeron, thank you so much for your time. We know it's extremely valuable, and for all the incredible bombs that you shared in your story. It's super inspiring. Thanks for being just an example of true hustle, true grit, and using your platform to change the world. Appreciate you so much, my man. Until next time.